Welcome in. Today, you're listening to Gun Talk Hunt. Gun Talk Hunt is brought to you by Springfield Armory and by Timney Triggers, the world's finest triggers. Timney Triggers has been making a quality, affordable triggers in the U.S. since 1946. Now is the time to get a deal on our closeout trigger at timneytriggers.com. Great discounts on discontinued models of triggers like the bench rest replacement, the Calvin Elite Remington Model 7.
Ooh.
Yeah, short action. And the Mauser Sportsman. Find your next trigger upgrade at timneytriggers.com/closeouts.
Okay. Now, I know what people are thinking. Closeouts, all those must not be that good.
No, that's not what it is.
Nay, 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 nay.
Yeah. You might be the weirdo that likes the thing that nobody else liked.
Exactly.
So
they're moving on.
The deal is with the closeouts, and the kind of the short explanation is it's either something that maybe didn't sell that well because it was a 4-pound trigger and everyone bought the 3-pound trigger. But you may say, that's cool.
Yeah.
4-pound trigger's fine. Or it may have been a red trigger and they didn't sell as many of the red triggers. So it's, yeah, I mean, it may be an opportunity.
Just as good.
Check it out.
Yep. So
today on Gun Talk Hunt,
I did a thing.
let's talk about hunting dinosaurs.
Yes, it's dinosaur hour.
No, really.
No, really, it is. Alligators are funny creatures. I've always kind of had this fascination with wanting to hunt.
Yeah.
One.
Yeah.
And I got that opportunity.
So we're down
Thank
here.
goodness.
Our headquarters, HQ, is in South Louisiana, and there are a lot of alligators in Louisiana. No, we don't actually have pet alligators, but we do have them in our backyard.
Right,
sometimes.
we do have them, and I mean, you live right next to a bayou, so you see them all the time.
Yeah.
I've got a retention pond behind my house, and they'll escape the bayou and come over and feed on our fish and birds and all that kind of stuff in our retention pond.
Yeah.
So it's in Louisiana, the rule is that you have to be a resident. And it's a draw hunt. So you put in, usually it's about 3 years. I was lucky enough to draw out on year 2. So this is my second year doing it. And I put in for an area that you get 3 tags, which is awesome because now I get 3 opportunities. But I'm unfamiliar with the area.
You've
completely. Never
alligator hunted before.
Oh gosh, no. There's some things that you don't give a redneck from Oklahoma. And one of them is a Ruger 5.7, and the other one is 3 Gator tags.
So
you don't do that.
So I mean, yeah, you're not an expert in this.
No,
you go,
gosh,
sure,
no.
let's get a tag. We'll see how it happens.
I mean, that's part of the fun of a do-it-yourself hunt, and you know this. I mean, you just went on your first kind of do-it-yourself Wyoming antelope hunt, and you discover some of the same things. Like, you're unfamiliar with the territory, but you're like, you know what? Screw it. We're just going to go. It's just fun to figure stuff out on your own. And I think it's a matter of, kind of playing, the game against, your hunting skills. And
so one thing about really all hunting, but certainly a DIY, certainly when you're doing a type of species you've never hunted or an area you've never hunted is, unfortunately, in the world of hunting, there are a lot of very specific regulations on do's and don'ts.
There is, and that's one of the things about being a good sportsman. And if you are unclear what you should always do, if you're unclear about something, if you read a rule or regulation and you're unclear about something, call the game warden.
Yeah.
And that's one of the big things. And I had talked to the guy up there about a couple regulations that I was unclear about. And one of them was the firearm used to dispatch the alligator. I mean, because you got this thing on a hook and line,
right?
And well, I mean, you've got to dispatch that alligator somehow.
So I know one of the things you said is you're not allowed to shoot an alligator or shoot at an alligator like swimming across a body of water.
Right.
But you're allowed to use a gun to dispatch them once they're basically right at the boat.
Exactly.
Or right next to you.
And for this hunt, I was using a Ruger 5.7. Now, Ryan wasn't really I guess you really weren't like, I didn't let you know a lot about this. And because I took the Ruger 5.7 because we shot it with guns and gear, and we hadn't sent it back yet. And I think both of us were kind of like, yeah, I don't really want to send this one back to Ruger.
It's pretty cool.
It's pretty freaking cool.
Yeah.
And so I sent it off to a place that we got alerted to from Jason at Lipsy's called Kodiak Coatings, and they're out of Shelbyville, Kentucky. And I sent it to him in anticipation of using this on a gator hunt and said, make it a gator theme.
And this is a Cerakote shop.
Yes.
And they do all kinds of cool designs. And I mean, you're probably familiar with Cerakote. If you're not, it is, I think they say it's not a coating, but it's like it impregnates into the metal.
Yeah,
but
I don't.
It's a
that's
way
marketing speak. For it really
perhaps.
It works damn good.
It does really work. It protects the gun, but also because it's a little simpler for me to kind of pretend like it's paint. I know it's not paint. Don't get mad at me, Cheryl, at Cerakote. No. I know it's not paint. But you can color the gun. You can do all cool designs. So you said, I'm taking it on a gator hunt.
And I let them have their way with this gun. Because they're very creative over there. And most people who work with Cerakote can come up with some different looks if they just play around with it enough. And so when I got the gun back, I was kind of blown away because it's got this kind of cool green, like almost an OD green mesh tint to it.
Yeah, it's super cool.
So, but on the top, so they knew it was gator themed. So on the top of the barrel where the lightning port is on top of the slide, so on the barrel, they laser etched an alligator coming out of the water.
Yeah, just where they're sitting in the water, just the head and the nose sticking out.
And that's a lot of what we saw out there. I mean, and so they did a really cool job on that. But yeah, so the gun was really critical, and getting your blessing on getting it back and taking it down there was fairly easy. I think after you saw the gun, you're like, oh yeah, that's a gator gun.
So it's outfitted with a red dot.
Yep, it's outfitted with a Burris Fastfire 3. And, I was going to I had plans, and a lot of guys don't know this, and we have talked about it at length. I was going to put a loophole on that. Okay. And one thing, so I contacted Mark Gurney over at Ruger, and I said, hey, I'd like a plate for a loophole red dot. And he goes, well, we don't make them. And I figured, it's, why not?
Because a lot of these places, a lot of pistols that are ready for an optic
can
have all these different plates for whatever optic you want.
But what he let me know was, he was like, well, that red dot is too heavy to run the slide.
The Delta Point Pro.
Yes.
And something we never think about is
I would have not thought about that.
You put an optic on top of a semi-auto gun. Obviously, the slide is reciprocating, but depending on the weight of the optic, it can change the way the gun functions.
I never would have thought about that.
It slows down the slide, and it messes up the whole thing.
Yeah. Never would have thought about it. But anyway, so we got the Burris on there, and it worked great. But one of the interesting things is if you don't know a location, your first impression of it, it's almost exactly what you think it'll probably be. But we went through the scariest town. I don't even know if it was a town. So there was all these little shanty shacks, but people were living in them.
Well, I told you, because I have been to pretty much every nook and cranny of Louisiana, having lived in the state for a couple decades. And I said, where are you going? Oh, that's really in the middle of nowhere. Like, if you go a little bit further, you'll get to the state prison.
Yes, exactly. Angola. Yeah. And so we're driving through this town, and Jace, our cameraman, is like, don't slow down. Keep driving through. And we're right on the edge of this WMA, and he's like, just keep going through. And like as he was like saying that, I was thinking the same thing. I'm not stopping. But there was this one house. It stands out. It had a lawn chair on the roof.
Okay.
With a headless skeleton.
Oh no.
Sitting in it.
Well, Halloween time, right?
Oh no. This was year-round decorations. But below that, under this awning, there were like 3 old mannequins. Like old mannequins they were wearing very skimpy clothing. And they had wigs on.
This is in the front yard?
This is in the front yard.
Wow.
And I mean, that's one of the things that keyed us up on like, hey, we better.
This is super weird.
Continue on, please. So that was interesting. Like that was. I've been to some small places, but that was the first time I was like, I don't want to be walking out here in the middle of the night.
Well, going to interesting places. When we go hunting, we go exploring.
You do.
So talk about gator hunting. I mean, what's you guys kind of made your way around in a boat because obviously gators in the water for the most part.
So my next door neighbor has a boat, and he was like, hey, I'll drive you around. So he can't, and that's another one of the rules clarifications that you've got to get. He can't assist with taking gators. He's a non-resident. So you can apply for helper tags. So or not tags, but a helper's license. And so my helper couldn't make it. And so thank goodness I had the Ruger 5.7 because I could manage that gun better, not having a long gun out there, a rifle. Because I had to manage the line.
So you're holding on to the
gator
line
and the gun.
Yeah. So you're basically shooting the gun one-handed. Was it one-handed every time?
Every time.
Yeah.
There's no getting your sight picture, two-handed grip. There's none of that. And these are like very close contact shots. So we pull up to this ramp, and we're all excited, and this is the only boat ramp that we know of, the only one on this particular body of water. We get there, a tree is laid over in the canal where we've got to go to get to this lake. And we're on the WMA, so we could have said, okay, we'll trailer to some other lake or, but we weren't doing that. We were going to do it the hard way. And so I had this probably the dullest saw I've got in my arsenal in my truck.
Well,
and
saw.
That's the only thing I had in my truck. But I thought I had a machete in my truck, and I did, but Bill couldn't find it. My boat driver couldn't find it. So he's like on the back of this motor, and I'm sitting up there sawing. I kid you not, I'm buried in this tree
to try to get to the trunk.
And he's like an airplane mechanic for the Navy. Like he's over a bunch of people and he can't hear. Yeah. He cannot hear anything. I could be yelling at him like from me to you, which is a matter of 3 feet, and he won't hear me.
Right.
And so I don't know if Jace, our cameraman, who was on shore filming all of it, was yelling, keep going, and he heard that, but he buried me all the way in the tree. And so I'm trying to saw these limbs, and he's still driving the boat full speed.
Just ramming you into the tree.
Like completely lodging me into this tree. And so finally, after, I don't know, it took about maybe a little over an hour to cut my way through. And I cut a narrow path, just narrow enough to fit a little like a Gator Tracks boat. Like
a little flat boat.
A little flat boat.
Yeah.
And so we got it, and it had the mud motor on it, which would allow it to go over like logs and stuff like that. And we get there, and I'm thinking, this is not going to happen because it's chocked full of lily pads and weeds.
The whole
thing, as
lake
far as
is choked out. Yeah.
But apparently that's good, like gator.
They love it.
Atmosphere because they can hide, they can make their way through there no problem. And we saw probably close to, I don't know, 40 gators. 40 different gators. They were all kind of...
What, a day and a half or so?
Yeah, little over a day and a half. We really didn't have all that... Well, we've been filming so much.
Yeah.
And because of COVID and this year of madness, they extended the season for 60 days. Thank goodness, because otherwise it's only a 30-day season typically.
Oh, okay.
So I had, actually until today, August or October 31st to kind of fill those tags out because it's the last day.
So what did you guys use for bait?
Oh my gosh. So I went to a week before I went to the grocery store and had like $1 package. I mean, they had to be expired by a couple of days at least, of this stuff called melt, which is basically cow spleen.
Okay.
And I pretty much just threw that in the back of my truck and let it sit for about a week.
Let it ripen.
But Bill had the best bait. This was the best. He bought a pork butt 2 years ago. And yeah, you know where this is going.
This is prep.
So what happened? Yeah. So he bought this pork butt, and he accidentally forgets to put it back in the freezer or in the fridge. Well, what do you do with a pork butt that you're not planning on eating? Well, he stows it for a rainy day and throws it in the freezer. Well, about 3 weeks ago, he takes it out and puts it in this little Yeti ice chest. And it just sits there, it marinates for, this is a 2-year-old pork butt that he lets marinate for about 3 weeks.
That had to have been lovely.
I think I didn't gag or throw up, but I still smell.
It was pretty bad.
Oh, it's awful. And so you kind of, and I've never hung gator lines or anything like that. And so we'd set one, and so you lodge this bamboo pole, this bamboo cane pole into the ground next to a tree overhanging water, and raise it up at about, 8 to 10 inches. So that alligator comes up, he can smell it, he comes up just above the water, he goes up and grabs it, he gnaws on it all night, chews it up, swallows it, and then you got yourself a gator because the line is attached to the tree.
Right.
So, we spend a little bit of time fishing, and which, I don't know, we fished, but we had 0 bites, and we saw fish everywhere.
Really?
They were big. Like, we would be driving down this lane that another boat has carved out. Oh, that's another thing. A boat showed up on the lake, have no idea where he came from, and we never saw him leave or never saw him again. And we only explored maybe
it was the mannequin guy.
Oh gosh, he's looking for us. Thank goodness he didn't find us.
Sure got a pretty mouth.
Jeez,
Deliverance Part 2.
Jeez. Now you got me thinking about that, because I'm like, geez, that's scary. But yeah, it's an interesting. It's an interesting feeling when you pull up to a line and you see it stretched out.
Yeah.
So I don't know. And we thought we had a good idea of what gator might be on that line, but we've left them sit overnight. And so you start to go and you start to pull on this line, and you're like, nothing's here. When I put out like 20 feet of line, so I'm pulling up, this mat of vegetation. And then all of a sudden, like, you feel a little heft on that line, and you're like, oh my gosh, there's really something here. What am I about? Like, and so now you're like frantically getting this Ruger 5.7 out and going like, oh crap. And you're sitting there
because you can't see into the water.
No, he was under this mat, like this thick vegetative mat, like lily pads and like duckweed and all this stuff.
Yeah.
And so you're sitting there like pulling it up, and then all of a sudden, like, there's an alligator there.
Right on the end.
And like, he's bigger than anything we've seen. And then all of a sudden, like, he does not like to get shot.
Now he's pissed.
Yeah. Now he's really pissed because he's like, I've been duped.
So a Ruger 5.7, I mean, one of the interesting things is it shoots the 5.7 by 28. Yes. Which is, it's a 22 caliber bullet. I mean, a 5.7 is, you've heard of 5.56. It's basically the same bullet as a 5.56 out of a pistol. How did it do on gators?
There are couple things. We did a video on this, like a kind of a first look video on this. And if you want to see that, you can go to our YouTube page. And just type in Ruger 5.7.
Also, for what it's worth, if you want to see the Gator gun, the customized Gator gun 5.7, we are filming this. So if you're listening to it on a podcast, go check it out on our YouTube channel or Facebook or whatever.
And hardly any recoil. What you would think that, it's firing kind of a 5.7 by 28. There's going to be a little bit of recoil. But the design of the gun and the load of the gun, there was not any recoil.
That's
and so
super handy.
So you can manage it. And if you're, and I don't like a rifle, because you can get a little bit distance, but you're having to control a line, a pissed off gator, and get a good accurate shot. Because I did it on this first gator. Like, I don't know how I did it, but I grazed him, and he was not happy. I did, and because I don't want to shoot the boat either, but I want to get a good shot.
Yeah, don't shoot the boat. Don't shoot yourself.
Yeah.
Try to hit the gator in the right spot.
Right. And the spot you're hitting is like a dime size on the back, the base of the head, basically about an inch back from that. because you're breaking spinal column and you're all that. And so when I was going to shoot, he had moved, and I guess I turned my head to kind of twerk on him, and I just grazed him. And he was not happy about that 5.7. Not happy. He knew what was up. And so now I'm controlling him, and he didn't put up a lot of fight after that, after I was able to control him, because I think he knew the gig was up.
Yeah.
Like, he was like, okay, I'm hooked. Like, let's just finish this, and put a great shot on him. And I'm telling you, I don't know about the Gator boys, the swamp people, whatever.
Right.
Why are they not shooting a Ruger 5.7? Because it was efficient. It was highly effective, and I didn't waste any meat, which is one of the greatest parts of gator hunting. You're eating all that good tail meat, but man, like, that gun is solid.
Low recoil, lots of power. So
Yes.
shooting it one hand, it makes a lot of sense. So talking about meat, if you've never had gator, and gator is a common thing on menus
Yes.
around Louisiana, and probably a lot of the Southeast. It's good. It's kind of like pork.
Yeah, I'd
it's
say
kind of
it's
like a
closer
pork.
to pork than chicken.
And but you said then the work starts once you get them back.
On any hunt, they all joke about, like, if you're, doing a moose hunt or you're doing an elk hunt, big game, any type of big game hunt, the fun is over once that trigger's pulled.
Right. Now we got to get to work.
And they are not lying. If you have a guy who does processing, who does gators, there's a reason why he charges so much to process gators, because it sucks. We were, so I got home at about, let's say, like right around 3 o'clock.
Yeah.
10 o'clock, 9:30, we finally finished cleaning only 3 gator hides, because I wanted to preserve the hide. I want to make something cool out of it.
Yeah.
And so we sent it off to Black Diamond Tannery in Florida, and it's a lot of work. So what you have to do, and you have to pressure wash the meat off the hide. You got to get all the meat off the hide.
So you clean the gator,
Mm-hmm.
you take the tail meat, and you split the hide open basically,
Yes.
and now he's sort of inside out.
Yes.
Yeah. And now
essentially, yeah, because you're getting rid of all the shoots, all the back stuff. So all the back, you're kind of taking off all the shoots. And they call them the shoots. You're taking those off and the top of the tail off, and then splitting him out like you said, and skinning him much like you would a deer. But I didn't do this on the 7-footer. Was really pay attention to how much meat you're leaving on the hide, because it all has to come off. And I didn't know that, but I called a buddy of mine who harvests gators for a living.
He knows the deal.
This is his deal. And before he gets off the phone, he says, "Oh, and have fun with pressure washing. That's my favorite." and like the tone of his voice, I was like, "You're full of shit.
this is
Like,
not good."
No, that's bull. So sure enough, like, we're sitting out there pressure washing. I know my neighbors hate me by now, because my wife walked out and goes, "The whole neighborhood stinks."
Oh no, God.
So I got that going for me. Yeah. Hi, honey. I'm gonna crawl into bed tonight.
Sorry, neighbor. Sorry, Bob.
So I threw away my shoes. I threw them away. They were done.
Because you had raw gator meat on everything.
Everything. I was caked in the, like, little small chunks of white gator meat. Because what do you do when you're pressure washing? It'll blow back on you.
Oh yeah, it sprays everywhere.
Yeah, sprays everywhere. So Bill, my neighbor, said, "Hey, before I got my turn at it and my shot at it, he goes, there's a couple things you need to know before you do this. 1, move the wife's car before." He says, 2, wear glasses. 3, anything you're not willing to destroy, don't wear it.
It's over.
So, because I looked at him and I go, what the hell happened to you?
Oh my god.
And because he is caked in it. And so I got caked in it too, because I was sitting there spraying it, and 9:30 comes around, we're done. And then you have to salt it. And so I go to the local grocery store. I bought a non-iodized salt.
That's what you have to get.
You have to get non-iodized salt. They only come in those tiny little containers. So I bought
All of them.
35 of them.
35.
And I used every single one of them.
Wow.
Every single one of them on 3 gator hides, because you have to salt it, and then so you roll it up, and then you set it out, and then the next day it comes around, and you scrape everything off. You have to scrape all the salt off, get all the meat off, the rest of the meat, because there's going to be you're not going to hit everything.
Yeah.
Maybe if you're good at it, but I apparently suck at it. I expect a call from Black Diamond Tannery any day now.
What the hell did you do?
Yeah, what did you do, you rookie? You must be from Oklahoma. Then you resalt it, and then you seal it. But again, going back to the procedures that the steps you have to take, you have to, fill out all your tag information. You got to tag them right. Then you have to go get them inspected. So I had to drive all the way to Baton Rouge.
The state headquarters for wildlife and fisheries.
Yeah, they had to inspect it. Like, okay, yep, the tag is on correctly, and that's it. So that was kind of my whole experience with gator hunting, and I had this shirt on that I really liked, and I took my son on a youth deer hunt, and I was like, well, that'll be the shirt that I wear home. I hadn't smelt it or anything else. I hadn't smelt it, and it's one of those moisture wicking type shirts.
Right.
They hold scent very well. Let me just tell you, because I was sitting there at 5:30 in the morning in the dark going God, I smell gator. And I'm just I'm smelling it. I'm like, this is disgusting. And I'm like, and then it dawns on me that, oh crap, this is that shirt. And in the dark, my son's in the back seat sleeping on the drive back home. In the dark, I'm fishing for a shirt out of the luggage, and I'm
throw it out the window.
No, I didn't throw it out. That'd be littering. But I take this shirt off in the dark driving because it stinks so bad. Locked it up in my bag, and it's on its current 4th wash and still stinks, so it's about to go in the trash.
Yeah, it's not going to make
the shirt.
So have you eaten any of the gator meat yet?
Yes. Yeah.
What'd you do to it?
I fried it.
It's hard to go wrong there.
It's hard to go wrong, but as long as you got a good, nice little kind of horseradish, mustard dipping sauce, it's really good. But I'm going to bring you some. I know I keep saying that, but I have it. I swear I have it. But no, I would, if you're thinking, and if you're in a state that allows it, definitely give it a try, because I think it's estimated there's some 5 to 6 million alligators here in Louisiana.
There's a lot. And Florida has just as many. It's a lot of gators.
It's a lot. And to me, the regulations on them, I'm not really a fan of, because I think it shouldn't be a draw hunt. Because as conservationists have proven, harvest of, gators or harvest of any species at a sensible rate helps them thrive.
Well, I mean, wildlife biologists study the populations. They know how many we can take off the land.
Right.
And, maybe, and I don't know if it's still the case, but I know for a while, and this is going back a few decades, at some point we did get some alarming low population levels of gators in Louisiana and Florida. And all of a sudden it was they're endangered. We're going to lose all the alligators.
Yeah, no.
And they did proper management of and now we have too many gators.
But I think it's at that. I think it's at
people
the
will
point.
still think you can't shoot an alligator. They're endangered or something, right?
No,
not around here.
No, and I mean we've been in areas where we and they don't really bother people. I mean, and I think that's one misconception that gators get a bad rap on, is that they're out there eating kids and
they're stalking everybody.
And
not really.
They just aren't, because. In an area we let our kids swim in, I mean, I've seen 10 and 11 foot alligators,
right?
And they don't bother them.
No, not generally. I mean, there's the occasional story of stuff like that.
Yes.
You still have to be smart. Obviously.
Yep. Don't go messing with them.
I wouldn't go jump on top of an alligator, but
I have.
not a big one. Not a big one.
No, you don't go jumping on those big ones. No, but I've wrestled a couple of alligators before, but they've all been they're under that 4 foot range.
Like we said, he's from Oklahoma, folks.
Well,
we can't help that.
No, you can't. But I recommend you do it if you have an opportunity, and if you like a little bit of adventure, because you never know on these hunts, on do-it-yourself hunts, what you'll encounter, who you'll meet.
And the places you go to hunt
Exactly.
alligators are kind of neat. You're in the swamps, and if you're not from a swampy area, it's pretty cool. You know, big cypress trees and Spanish moss and the whole look and feel of that whole thing. Is it haunted? Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
But you'll be
definitely.
fine. You'll be fine. All right. That's the story of hunting dinosaurs.
Will I do it again? Oh, you know what keeps me from like saying absolutely 100%?
It's the cleaning them, huh?
Yep. It's a lot of work.
Once you get these hides and then you have gator hides, next time you go, well, I'll just clean it and I'll get the meat and I'll move on with my life.
But I hate to waste it, you know.
Yeah.
But you can sell it. It's basically like a commercial license.
That's interesting.
So if you get
that's
it,
probably
you clean it.
Be careful. That may be specific to this state.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
But if you have the opportunity to sell it, why not make a little money? I mean, it's only 3 gator hides, but
I wonder how much you can get on a gator hide.
I don't know, but I'll let the guy decide. He can give me $30 for it. I don't care. Like that's a lot of work.
Yeah. All right. Well, gators. I bet you that's something you never hunted. Most people haven't. I haven't yet.
I haven't, but I do recommend you've got to do it next year.
Yeah,
you got to put in.
Again. I put in again. I put in last year. I didn't put in this year, so I guess I got to do it.
Yep.
All right. Well, that's it for us. We'll see you next time on Gun Talk Hunt.